My name's, like you said, Tyler Crow, and from Apache, Oklahoma, and I grew up there. And I took art in high school. I mostly did just drawing and stuff. I never did mess with oils or watercolors much, uh, and I didn't really even realize that you could even make much of a living, selling Western art. And I was fortunate and very blessed to get to enter an art show through the FFA and the Oklahoma Youth Expo. And if you won, your piece was sold. I don't know if any of y'all ever been to the Cowboy Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City. Well, anyhow, they have a show every year. It's called Pretty West. Well, the guy putting in a workshop on that year was Bruce Green. And since I had entered that contest and was fortunate to win, I got to go to the workshop. And he helped me, and that was the first time I'd ever even kind of dabbled in oil painting much. And I was a nervous wreck, and stuff. But anyhow, he told me, like I'm about to tell you, he said, don't be afraid to ask a question. And he said, and don't ever feel like, be afraid to take criticism. If somebody sees something about your painting that, like he's told me bukus of times, well, you need to fix this or fix that. And I just say, yes, sir, and I'll go fix it, but if you can't take that, that something's wrong with it and that you need to fix it, then, you might need to go into something else. But, that's just kind of what he told me. But anyhow, another thing that I've learned over the last few years is, there's quite a few people that told me that I should get a real job and stuff, and I felt like this is what the good Lord had wanted me to do, and so I wanted to work towards that and to honor Him, and so that's what I'm doing right now, or trying to anyways, the best that I can. So, any of y'all ever messed with watercolors or anything, or? Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Well, nothing wrong with that. Well, I just now kind of started getting into watercolors myself. They're a little bit unforgiving compared to an oil painting. But I'm sure that some of y'all know that on oil paintings you start from your darkest color to your lightest color. So and then on watercolors you do totally opposite. You start from your lightest color and work to your darkest color. And like on this horse head, I've kind of worked a little bit on this out throughout the morning, but I just started out with a really even lighter color than this blue here, and just kind of got a basic color down to where I covered my shadows and everything to kind of see where everything's supposed to be. And then I went in and kind of started putting a little bit of green from that grass reflecting off that horse's jaw and stuff. But anyhow, that's kind of how I usually start them and everything. And on the highlighted part of that horse's head, Bruce, or Mr. Green that's helped me, he said your values are one of the main things to watch is your values, light to dark. And so on that, before when I used to do my drawings, I'd want to cover everything, with a pencil. Whether there's a highlight on that cowboy's hat or something, I still would want to shade it. If it's a straw hat out in the sunlight, if it's hitting directly on it, it's going to be almost bright white. And in a drawing, if you left that, just the white of the paper, it would help pop it, make it stick out a lot more than if you just went ahead and shaded it a little bit. But anyhow, so back to this, I would probably just leave that forehead of that horse pretty much all white and just come in there, and just have my blue on the shadow side, and I'll end up putting a lot more greens and a few other little colors in there to kind of give it a little bit more of a detail and a little bit more of a punch. But like I say, if you kind of get a basic color down, then you can kind of start tweaking it, making things darker and a little bit lighter and stuff. But I get all my reference from the Wagner Ranch down around Vernon, Texas. And my dad builds bits and spurs and stuff, and he knew a few guys down there. And so I went down there one day, and, well, few years back and got to know some of those guys and gotten to ride with them and stuff, and they've all been a blessing to me, and I hope, not to only honor God, but I hope to, do it for those guys also, to let people know that, that's a way of life, and, and I'm sure all y'all, some of y'all too, have guys that, cowboy and stuff, and, and it's, if you do that, then you're proud of your gear and your horse and everything, and I hope to do it the best of my ability to make sure everything's right, to where it's almost like recording history, I guess you could say. But, and like I say, mostly to honor those guys for what they do. But anyhow, y'all have any questions so far, anything?
Or? Any problem with painting by number? Is that a good way to start? I know I used to dabble in that some. And,
yes, sir.
When you just starting out, you don't know what to do. Or
yes, sir.
The best way to look at someone else's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I never did paint by number. I'll tell you how Mr. Green started me off. You can get one of these little easels, at like Hobby Lobby or any little art store. And like I told everybody else, this Palo Duro, it's just so beautiful down there. But Mr. Green had me get a little canvas and get my palette with my paint all lined up on it. And Tom Ryan told him to do this also, and he was a cowboy artist. But go out and do a 30-minute sketch of just like a little bit of a landscape. Don't have to be detailed or nothing, but you're just recording, you're just interpreting what you see and putting it on the canvas. And not only are you getting a whole lot more richer colors than what would be on a photograph, but you're training your brain to just instantly just grab colors, and you're learning how to mix colors, and just learning to see instead of just right up here at this photograph or something. You're kind of just, like I said, you're just training your brain to figure out how all those colors work and everything. What Mr. Green also had me do when I first started was get a canvas and put it in 144 grids, little squares, and paint 144 shades of green and 144 shades of brown. And you cannot, and I couldn't. I have Viridian, which is kind of a green color on my palette, but he never uses green for like a tree. He always mixes his green like from yellows and blues. So when I mixed all those colors, I couldn't ever use like an actual green color as one of my little squares. And boy, talk about a nervous wreck when he told me to do that. But I mean, it sure helped a lot, learning how to mix a few colors and learn how to get different shades of green, because that's what I'd mostly painting was greens and browns, in those horses. But
How long have you been doing oils and watercolors?
I've been right out of high school. I'm 24 now. I've been painting with oils the last 4 years, and then watercolors just the last couple years or so. I did a little bit. I always liked to study Charlie Russell's watercolors, and always looked at those little letters that he used to write to people, and so I would do a little bit of those and stuff, and then here recently I finally would draw something off a little bit bigger and start doing that. But like I say, I'm kind of learning in the watercolor deal myself, but it's really fun. I really enjoy it. But anyhow, that's mainly kind of how I got started, and what Bruce had me do to work towards it. And I'll never stop learning, and I never plan to stop learning. And that's another thing he's told me is to, as soon as you stop learning, then that's kind of when you lose yourself. If you think you got it, then you really don't. But I guess that could be in about anything. You never want to stop growing in whatever you're doing. But
How much would it cost to get a basic oil painting started? How many tubes? What would you need to get to start out?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can get one of these easels. Say at Hobby Lobby or so. I think they might be $60 or somewhere around there, maybe a little bit more. But I buy, you can buy, pre-made canvases already. But anymore, I end up just ordering my stretcher bars from a art supply store, and I stretch my own canvas. So these come in, just this is a board, and then you piece them together, and then I just cut my canvas and stretch it over it. But anymore, that's how I do it. But a roll of canvas, it's like 6 foot, I think, or by 54 or something like that, and it's about $300, I believe. It's not, and I use Fredericks canvas. But and then on the oil tubes of paint, they kind of vary in price also. Some of it's expensive, and I don't know why, but like Cobalt, I end up getting pretty good sized tubes, and like a tube of blue paint might cost $30 or $40. But I don't mean that to scare anybody, but there's a lot cheaper colors too, and you can order small tubes, and they aren't that expensive. But I just end up using quite a bit to where I order bigger tubes. But I mean, you can get started pretty cheap.
So do you mainly mix your colors, or do you use what comes out of it?
Yes, ma'am. I'll put it, well, like on my deal here. My oil painting palette's about set up the same as this. It's on a little bit bigger scale, but I start out with my white, and then I go from my warmer colors to my cooler colors. From my yellows and orangey colors to bluer. And anyhow, yes, ma'am, I just put them all out there, and then I end up mixing them, to the color that I would like to get and stuff. And sometimes that color don't come out the way you want it to, and sometimes it does. But yes, ma'am, that's kind of how I get to doing that, But anyhow, I feel like working with oils has helped me kind of figure out watercolors a little bit easier, because I kind of had an idea of, these colors are close to the same colors that I have in my oil painting palette. So I instantly kind of, was able to kind of grab a few colors to mix and know what to get the color that I wanted. But anyhow, there's a place, Port School Supply, out of Oklahoma City, where I get a lot of my watercolor paints and stuff. And then there's a place called Utrecht, and that's where I get a lot of my oil colored paints from. But anyhow, that's kind of how that all kind of works out, and stuff. And like I say, it's been a blessing, and I sure enjoy it. So, but I can kind of work a little bit on this here. And any of y'all? Oh, y'all come on up if you want to. Yeah, so you're sure welcome to if you want.
Yes, move in. Yes, move in.
You can see a lot of green colors in that horse and stuff, And those things you kind of have to. And like I say, I wish I had more time to show you a little bit more. But I got kind of a dark color there, but it looks like it needs to be a little bit darker, So I'll just gradually, this is how I kind of do it. I just kind of gradually work into it, making stuff darker and everything. Otherwise, you can mess up with these things pretty quick, and it's hard to cover it up. Compared to oils, you can paint over something. You can dab it a little bit. like on the snow, that horses needs to be a little bit darker down here. So there's some greens also down or greens and yellows down in the front part of that horse's nose too that I need to get. Like I say, Bruce said that one of the most important things is your values, light to dark colors. Because you can be standing across the room, and if your values are right, then it sure makes your painting kind of stick out a lot more. You can kind of see it. That helped kind of make that horse's nose kind of roll a little bit, instead of just looking like all just gray and flat looking.
If you want to get this same color,
Yes, sir.
how do you know? You dip, I watch you dip it 3 different ways, 3 different times.
Yes, sir.
You mix different colors at different ratios.
Yes, sir.
How do you know if you're right?
Well, you kind of just have to, I don't know, hope that you're luck, I guess, or something. But as long as you're close to the same color, it's all right. But
It'll blend in?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's important to blend it in.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Because most of the time my colors, either if I don't mix up a big deal of it, then yes, sir, I end up, it'll be a little bit off or just a hair or two, but hopefully it won't be too much to notice it a whole lot. But I'm sure y'all all know about those complementary colors and stuff. So, make a darker color, I just kind of got blue and, yellow and a little bit of red, and it kind of mixes me up a little bit of a darker color for that horse's nose. If y'all have any questions, you sure don't feel afraid to ask. Let's see.
If you mess up, do you start completely over?
Yes, ma'am. Well, like on watercolors, you kind of have to. I mean, you only get, not necessarily on oil paintings because you can paint over on top of it and stuff. But on watercolors, if I ended up like messing up and like a black streak ran across the sunlit part of this horse's head, then you'd have to start over. Which it kind of stinks, but I guess you get more practice in, so it's kind of how you have to look at it. But like I say, on oil paintings, thankfully you can paint over on top of it, and it don't really matter much. But on my charcoal, on my oil paintings too, I pretty much do the same thing. I draw it all off and kind of get an idea of where everything's going to go and stuff. And I spray, after I draw it off, I spray it with a fixative, kind of like you would spray a drawing to keep it from smearing. And since that's charcoal on top of that canvas, I just spray it on top of there. So then when I go to paint it, especially in that lighter colors, that cowboy's face, that charcoal starts smearing with my paint, and you sure don't want that because then it'll look kind of muddy looking. But
So you use charcoal on top of the oil?
no, ma'am. I just when my canvas is still white, I'll just
okay.
draw it all off on there.
I see.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you put the
Yes,
oil
ma'am.
on.
Yes, ma'am. And then if you see a mistake that you've made, in your drawing after you've kind of got it all painted, you can still go in there. Say if that horse's back leg is too wide or something, you can go in there with that grass color and kind of shave a little bit off of it, and kind of get it to where you want it. But like I say, oh, that's okay. Well, I've enjoyed y'all. Thank y'all.